15 years ago, a 62-year-old housekeeper did something no boss expected, and what happened in that house changed several women's lives forever. This is the story of Maria Helena, and you need to hear it until the end. Maria Helena was 47 years old when she started working at the Almeida House, a huge mansion in an upscale neighborhood of São Paulo. 3 floors, pool, garden, the kind of house she saw from afar and never imagined she would one day work inside. She needed the job. She needed it badly. She had 2 daughters to support alone. Her husband had left years before and never came back. So when she got the position through a referral, she thanked God. The salary was good, better than any other she had ever received, and the boss, Christina, seemed polite, respectful. She called her by her name, not by the diminutive so many other bosses used. In the beginning everything seemed perfect. Maria Helena worked Monday through Friday. She cleaned the house, cooked, washed clothes, ironed, the normal tasks, and she did everything with dedication, because she had always been like that, always gave her best in everything she did, even when no one appreciated it. Christina traveled a lot for work. She was an executive at a big company. She would be away for days, sometimes weeks, and when she traveled, it was just Maria Helena and Roberto in the house. Roberto was the husband, a man in his early 50s, gray hair, always in a suit, always with that air of someone who thought he was better than everyone else. And it was during one of Christina's trips that everything started to change. It was a Thursday. Maria Helena remembers to this day. She was in the kitchen preparing lunch when Roberto came in. This wasn't strange. Sometimes he came in to get water, to see what there was to eat, normal. But that day he came in differently. He closed the door behind him and just stood there, just staring. Maria Helena felt a chill in her stomach, that kind of chill you feel when you know something isn't right. But she kept cooking, pretended she hadn't noticed, because she didn't want to believe what she was thinking. Roberto approached, got too close, way too close, and spoke softly, almost in her ear. "You're very beautiful, Maria Helena. I've always thought that." She froze, couldn't move, couldn't speak, because she knew where this was going. She had heard stories from friends, from acquaintances, maids who were harassed, who were abused, and who lost their jobs when they tried to report it. Because nobody believes the maid, they always believe the boss. So she took a deep breath and said with the firmest voice she could manage, "Mr. Roberto, lunch will be ready in 10 minutes. Excuse me." And she left the kitchen, fast, with her heart beating so hard she thought it would explode. She went to the backyard, breathed, cried a little, and thought, "I need this job. I can't lose this job." But Roberto didn't give up. In the following days, Roberto's advances became more frequent, bolder. He started showing up in places where Maria Helena was, always with some excuse, always with that look, that disgusting smile. He made comments about her body, about her clothes, about how good she smelled, and she tried to ignore it, tried to stay away, tried never to be alone with him. But it was difficult, because she worked in his house, and he knew that. Once he cornered her in the hallway, put his hand on her waist, and said, "Why are you running away from me? I just want to get to know you better. I can help you. I can give you things. You don't have to work so hard." Maria Helena pushed him hard and said, "I don't want anything from you, sir. I just want to do my job and go home." And Roberto smiled, that smile she'll never forget, and said, "You're going to regret this. You don't know who you're talking to." It was at that moment that Maria Helena realized he wasn't going to stop, and she needed to do something. That night, Maria Helena couldn't sleep. She kept thinking about how to protect herself, because she knew she couldn't just quit the job. She needed the money, and she knew that if she left without proof, no one would believe her if she tried to report it later. So she had an idea, A risky idea. But it was what she had. The next day she went to work with her phone in her pocket. It wasn't a good phone. It was one of those old ones. But it had a camera. And it recorded audio. And she thought, if he tries something again, I'm going to record it. I'll have proof. And then he won't be able to deny it. And she was right. Because Roberto tried again. It was on Tuesday. Christina had traveled to Brasilia. She would be away all week. And Roberto knew that. He waited for Maria Helena to finish cleaning the living room, and appeared. Locked the door. And this time, there was no smile. There was threat. "You think you can humiliate me?" he said. "You think I'm going to let you disrespect me in my own house?" Maria Helena was scared. Very scared. But she pressed the record button on the phone in her apron pocket. And answered, "I didn't disrespect you, Mr. Roberto. I just want to work." "Work?" he laughed. "You work for me. And if I want, you do what I tell you. Or do you think you'll get another job at your age? Who's going to hire you? An old woman with no education?" And that's when he advanced, tried to grab her. And Maria Helena screamed. Screamed loud, screamed with everything, and pushed him so hard, he stumbled and fell. And she ran. Ran out of the house, to the gate, to the street, and only stopped when she was far away. Really far away. With the phone in her hand. With the recording. The next day, Maria Helena didn't go to work. She was scared. Very scared. But she knew she had to act. So she called Christina, and told her everything. Everything. And sent the recording. Christina was silent for a few seconds, and then said, "Maria Helena, I'm coming back today. Stay wherever you are. Don't go back to the house. I'm going to solve this." And Maria Helena waited, with her heart in her hand, because she didn't know if Christina would believe her, if she would be on her side, or if she would side with her husband, because usually, wives side with their husbands, even when they're guilty. But Christina was different. When Christina returned to Sao Paulo, she went straight home, confronted Roberto, and he denied everything, said Maria Helena was making it up, that she was trying to extort money, that she had tried to seduce him, and when he refused, she got angry. But Christina asked to hear the recording, and listened, and everything changed, because in the recording, everything was there. The threats, the disgusting words, the attempted assault, and Roberto had no way to deny it. It was there, in his voice, in his words, and Christina did something that surprised even Maria Helena. She didn't ask for silence, didn't try to cover up the case. She called the police, and reported her own husband. But the story doesn't stop there, because when Christina started investigating, she discovered something even worse. Roberto had done this before, several times, with other employees. Over the years, Christina called 3 former maids, women who had worked in the house before Maria Helena, and they all told similar stories. Harassment, threats, and when they tried to react, he fired them, made up some excuse, said they stole, that they were lazy, that they did the work poorly, and they lost their jobs, and were afraid to speak, because he was rich, powerful, and they were just maids. But now it was different, because now there was proof, and there were witnesses, and there was a boss who believed, who supported, who fought. Christina gathered them all, the 3 former employees, and Maria Helena, and all together, they went to file a complaint. All together, they told their stories, and the case against Roberto began. But even with evidence, even with witnesses, Maria Helena's fight wasn't easy, because society judges, and judges hard. There are people who said, "But why didn't she leave before? Why did she keep working there? Could she have provoked it? And these questions hurt more than Roberto's threats, because they came from women too, from people who should understand, who should support, but who preferred to blame the victim. Maria Helena explained 1,000 times, "I needed the job, I had daughters to raise, I had nowhere to go, and I didn't provoke anything. I just wanted to work in peace." But there are people who don't understand, who don't want to understand, because it's easier to blame the maid than to accept that rich men are also criminals. And during the process, Roberto tried everything, offered Maria Helena money to give up, threatened to sue her for defamation, tried to bribe witnesses, used expensive lawyers, used contacts, used everything he had. But Maria Helena didn't give up, because she knew that if she gave up, he would do this to another woman, and another, and another, and she didn't want that on her conscience. During these months of struggle, something beautiful happened. Maria Helena wasn't alone. Christina paid for a lawyer for her. The other 3 women became friends. They supported each other, cried together, laughed together, and fought together. And other women started appearing. Women who had gone through similar situations, who had been harassed, who had been abused, who had been silenced, and who now saw a chance to speak, to be heard. And this created a network of support, of strength, of courage. Because when you know you're not alone, it's easier to fight, it's easier to resist. Maria Helena discovered she wasn't the only one, that thousands of women went through this every day, in homes, in offices, in factories, everywhere, and that most didn't report it, out of fear, out of shame, out of lack of options. But she decided she would be different, that she would report it, that she would fight, not just for herself, but for all of them. The process lasted 2 years, 2 long years, 2 difficult years. But in the end, Roberto was convicted. They couldn't prove everything. They couldn't get complete justice. But they got enough. They got him punished, made him pay a fine, got him a criminal record, made him lose his reputation, and Christina divorced him, sold the house, and started a new life, away from him. And she kept in touch with Maria Helena. They became friends, real friends. No longer boss and employee, but friends, and Maria Helena never worked as a maid again. Christina helped her open a small business, a snack bar, and today, 15 years later, Maria Helena has her own snack bar, simple, but hers. And she employs other women, and treats them all with dignity, with respect, the way she always wanted to be treated. Today, at 62 years old, Maria Helena tells this story to anyone who wants to listen. She's not ashamed, not afraid, because she knows that what happened wasn't her fault, and that talking about it is important, to warn other women, to encourage other women. And when, she says, I was so scared of losing my job, scared of not being able to support my daughters, scared that no one would believe me. But you know what was worse than all that? It was the fear of looking in the mirror and seeing a woman who stayed silent, who accepted it, who let it happen. So I fought, and I'm proud of that. And this message is important, because there are many Maria Helenas out there, women who are going through this now, who are scared, who are alone, and who need to know, you're not alone. You can fight, you should fight. And there are people who will support you, who will believe, who will be on your side. Because harassment isn't a compliment, it's not a joke, it's not an exaggeration, it's a crime, and it needs to be treated as a crime, always. Maria Helena's story isn't unique, it's one among thousands, among millions, of women who every day face situations of abuse, of harassment, of violence, and who often have nowhere to go, no way to report, no support. But each story told is a light, is hope, is a path, because when you tell you encourage another to tell, and when that other tells, one more feels strong enough to tell, and thus a chain is created, a chain of courage, of strength, of resistance. And if you're going through something like this now, know you're not alone, you don't deserve this, it's not your fault, and you can, and should report it, seek help. Talk to someone, to a friend, to the police, to some organization that defends women, but don't stay silent, because silence only protects the aggressor, never the victim. And if you know someone going through this, support them, believe them, be present, because sometimes, having one person who believes in you makes all the difference between giving up and fighting. Maria Helena fought, and won, and you can too, you always can, because we find strength when we need it, and when we least expect it. And in the end, what remains isn't the fear, isn't the shame, it's the pride of having fought, of not having stayed silent, of having been stronger than everything they tried to do to you. Subscribe if this story touched you.